Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another E3 talk. E3 is big, a lot of announcements are being made, and one made me very happy, and that is XCom 2. I was a big fan of the previous XCom games. I played the original, liked it, played the new one, the remake, and I liked it even more. Sorry to you hardcore guys out there, I just liked it more. Maybe it's the graphics and everything else, but yeah, I was sad that some of the stuff didn't carry over, but I liked it a lot, and with Enemy Within we had a lot of content and a lot of interesting stuff that happened around us. So with E3 a lot of information got out about XCOM 2. We saw a gameplay trailer, we saw the announcement trailer obviously. And I want to talk a little bit about that and what that means for XCOM and how the developers imagine how it's going down, what the new game is supposed to be and how it's different from the original Enemy Unknown that they brought out in 2012. So let's get started and welcome to everything we know about XCOM 2. XCOM 2 will play 20 years later, and the general story setup is that XCOM lost. The XCOM initiative lost. Believe it or not. And let's be honest, a lot of us did lose at least one time, at least in one of the playthroughs, many playthroughs that we did. I personally did a lot of playthroughs, and I can say that the first time that I tried to play on the hardest difficulty, that was a total disaster. So I'm not lying about this, I lost one or two times. I did win, of course, also a few times, but the general thought behind XCOM having lost and setting it up in that way, the developer said, is that the odds are, again, really stacked against you. And this time around it's the way that we will be playing in alien-occupied megacities. We will be infiltrating areas there as a reorganized XCOM resistance unit. We will rely more on ambushes and guerrilla tactics rather than large resources and defensive strategies. So we are more of a resistance movement than we are a real military security unit this time around. To be honest, I really like the idea, the concept of what they do have here. The XCOM was always about overcoming impossible odds and about having little response time, being with the back against the wall, so to speak, and all odds stacked against you. And that is exactly what we get here, since we do not have a lot of resources, obviously, and we have to manage and try to find ways to fight against those government, those aliens that have influence on the government and reign the world, kind of, and have their own security personnel keeping civilians in check and so on. I can only imagine the kind of dynamic and engaging gameplay that will come with the limited resources of resistance movement. Now at the new ambush gameplay, which is great, because if it's one thing that bugged me a little bit about the XCOM Enemy Unknown, it was that you could not really surprise attack the aliens. They were all in cover before you even could land a shot on them, and this becomes a very interesting scenario actually by adding this ambush gameplay. Once you're detected, however, the developers say, enemies will be able, make no mistake there, to call in reinforcements. They will go into cover soon. They have a lot of power in the world now. They reign the world basically, and they have a tight grip around the government, which means they will be able to have more troops, supplies than you have. Which means that probably a lot of missions will turn out the way that you have to retreat before you are able to kill all the aliens, because aliens are able to call in reinforcements. I don't know if they can call in reinforcements one time or if they always do that. I do know that special enemy types, the commanders of the ground troops, of the infantry, so to speak, of the police of the aliens, is able to call in reinforcements. I don't know if others are also able to call in reinforcements and if they come multiple times or if that works differently. But it will certainly be a lot harder this time around. It's kind of a complete 360 setting you up in an even more hopeless and desperate scenario. And what I find very cool about this is, let's be honest here, is this not what every XCOM player actually wants? Challenge? To be in a hopeless, desperate position where you can fight your way out with tactical decisions and good strategies. I personally am looking forward to this kind of new gameplay, if they pull it off right. And I know Firaxis is a company that normally, even if they don't always make things that are very spectacular, they at least make good, solid games that you can enjoy thoroughly. Moving on to our base, we will now be able to have a mobile base. We will not have underground bunkers anymore, because those would be a way too easy target to find and take out by the aliens. So guys, this time around it's we who have to be careful about not being intercepted by anyone. Also, a very interesting fact is that the base is supposed to be an homage to the ship that you could build in the original XCOM UFO Defense. During the gameplay you will be officially concealed, at start at least, and you are able to surprise the aliens and ambush them in their territory. It seems to be a real stealth system that they included here, and I really like that. I mean, of course, up to the point where you engage in combat, but I guess it's pretty awesome that they now have a system where you can kind of sneak up to the enemy and get the drop on them before they can even react. Which also means, though, that probably there will be more enemies in general, because would that not be the case, it would mean that the challenge would sink. There are also a few classes that we do know of so far. Among those classes are the so-called Ranger, who is kind of an evolution of the Assault class from EU, and the Ranger will be able to carry a machete and have very awesome close-range kill abilities. He will also, of course, be able to attack from a close shooting distance, such as the original Assault class. We also have the Specialist, who has a flying drone with him, which can hack specific devices such as turrets or security terminals. They can also, much like the original support unit, give buffs to their teammates and squad mates and help the player to stack the odds a little bit in our favor for a change. Another class is the Grenadier, which is obviously responsible for all the big things, grenades, rocket launchers and the stuff like that. And we do have the Sharpshooter, which is an evolution of XCOM's Sniper class, and will be able to provide a long-range support, as well as also can specialize in pistols this time around. So pistols are not a backdrop anymore, but he can actually actively use them in a very precise and very damaging manner. Enemy classes that we know of so far are, first of all, the Advent troops, which are kind of the ground forces, the police forces of the aliens. Those are actually humans in power armor, and they try to hold the peace in containing the civilians. I guess it's always easier to contain a population if you use parts of their own species to control them. So those guys think that the aliens are their saviors and that they make health problems go away and everything, and they're fine with the occupation and serve the aliens voluntarily. Kind of like the human enemies in XCOM Enemy Within. So there's that. Then we do have some other classes, such as the Viper class, which I'm not sure what they exactly can do. We know that they are a new specimen of alien, that they are able to pull soldiers to them, and that they are able to strangle them to death somehow. And they also seem to be pretty fast on their, they seem to be pretty fast in terms of movement. We also know, we also have an unknown class that we can see in the trailer, which reminds me a lot of the, kind of seems like an evolution of the Berserkers that we had in XCom Enemy Unknown. It might be an advanced version of them. As well as robots, which seem to be kind of the equivalent of what robots or human mechs were in Enemy Within. The game itself is set to feature procedurally generated maps, which is a big thing, since this time around we have more variety that way in terms of levels and not just set maps that we revisit all the time. In original XCOM, you know that there were randomly chosen maps, and there was quite a big array of maps that were available, but at the same time we did not have randomly generated maps, they were all handcrafted. This time they seem to be the things in it are handcrafted, but the way the cover works and everything else, it's not handcrafted, it is randomly generated, so it should be able to provide us with a little bit more replayability for the entirety of the game. Enemies also seem to be using a lot of turrets, which means that they will have security systems and defense systems online that can pretty quickly drop you if you're in the beginning of the game, but you will be able to hack them with the drone that your specialist has, so that is a good thing, and we'll be able to use their own methods against them, which is pretty awesome. Also, it should be noted that on high ground, explosive can actually destroy the floor this time around, which will cause your soldier to drop and have fall damage and obviously be exposed in his position. Also the objectives, the kind of objectives we do have in the game did obviously change with the way we have to do warfare now. Objectives will be either obviously the good old killing aliens or gathering intelligence, as well as taking out important alien structures or monuments in order to stir up chaos and destabilize the control the aliens have over the government. So we're a real resistance movement. We're trying to fight our way, fight for our cause, fight for human dominance again. Also, we have seen in the one trailer, we have seen a ship that was going kind of in the sky, and some people think it might be that we can go to the alien planet and attack them there, but I'm really not sure how this is gonna work. That might be a good idea for XCOM 3. I doubt it's going to be in XCOM 2, but it might be an awesome idea for the next XCOM game to get to the aliens, or for an expansion, to get to the aliens and fight them on their planet, which would be pretty awesome. But for that you would need a lot of resources, a lot of ships and stuff like that. I think the scenario is a little bit different here. Other cool feature to note is the ability to carry down soldiers and extract them actually from the battlefield, get them home. I don't know if they are able to be revived there, or if in the end it will be that you just brought them home for a funeral. I assume they might be able to be revived in some cases, and that's a great thing. You can also now choose your own extraction points, since you are resistance movement and not a military organization. You can now, when you finished all the objectives, choose a nearby extraction point to get out of the area as fast as possible, which is pretty cool. I think the extraction point has to be at the border of the map though, so you have to choose something that is out of the map really. Considering mod support, The game will have full mod support since the developers of XCom are aware of the fact that modding is a big thing in XCom. Some of the developers actually played the Long War, and they really loved that, and they also took some ideas from them, not a lot of them, but they took some ideas, and they really love that people will actually make total conversion mods or mods that really modify a lot of systems within the game, so they have full mod support and Steam Workshop and everything else. The game will be available on Steam and PC hard copy, obviously, but only on PC so far. The developers didn't state anything about consoles. They said it's not coming to consoles, and they said if they said anything else they might get into trouble, so I guess it's always based on how successful the game is. I guess if the game is very well received and successful on PC, they will probably drop a console version half year later or something like that. So for you console players out there, you're probably gonna get XCOM 2 if it's successful, and if it's not a good game, well, then you don't want it anyway, right? In the end, it all comes down to success, and of course comes down to focus, and the developer said they wanted to focus first on making a basic good core experience and making everything right before talking about consoles and everything else, so that's great to know. The game will be coming out in November 2015, so consoles probably don't have to wait all that long. Probably, if it's successful, it might come out in 2016 or early 2017, so there's no trouble there. I'm pretty excited about the game myself. From what I heard so far, the concepts are very interesting. What it means for the XCOM franchise, well, I'm very happy that they didn't just go with the terror of the deep cliche, the let's put it underwater and do the same thing again, which the original XCOM makers did. I mean, it was probably a nice idea, but with what they did now, I think there is something refreshing about the gameplay and everything, and the odds are even stacked more against you, which might be very, very interesting for people who really seek a challenge beyond Iron Man XCOM Enemy Unknown and Iron Man XCOM Enemy Within. And I really like that they try to change the background a little bit and the general situation. I mean, some people will probably be pissed and say, well, I won XCOM! But on the other hand, it is a new experience, and is a great new experience in my opinion. I mean, after all, XCOM didn't lose the war completely. They just got scattered and reorganized and thought about other things, about different methods to attack. And I think that might open up a lot of tactical options, actually. Because the old XCOM was a lot about going in very carefully, having every angle, having your sniper set up all the time, and this time it's more about sneaking up, ambushing people, trying to surprise them and trying to go in hard, and of course going on Overwatch with everyone else, so that if an enemy escapes, actually, that you can get a shot on him and get him down as well. I also like the concept of the different enemy types, such as the commanders, who can actually pull in reinforcements. So if you shut the commander down, for example, if you see the commander and can shut him down, before he can call in reinforcements, that might open up a way to properly start a mission and having an advantage right away. I mean, there might be some other reinforcements, some other aliens coming in anyway, but at least it gives you tactical options to minimize the damage or to modify the way that you can go in and fight the aliens, which I find very interesting. I'm gonna buy this game on release, mainly because I want to review it, and also because I am a big fan of Firaxis and of the XCOM series in general. But I do, of course, always recommend you to inform yourself, watch the gameplay, and really think about if you want to pre-order this game, because pre-orders are only made if you're sure that you will enjoy the game. So That's about it on XCom 2, all we know so far. If there's anything else, anything of real importance, I will update you on that. And if you like my videos, subscribe to my channel if you want to see more infos about interesting games or reviews, first impression videos, let's plays, everything that I do. My name has been SneakyDexter, and I hope you have a good day. See you.